Welcome, foolish mortals, and happy Halloween. I would like, if I may, to take you on a strange journey. I am obsessed with this film, and I am so happy to welcome it into our Disney family. Today we're going to talk about the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Science fiction, double feature.
The Rocky Horror Picture Show was released in 1975 by 20th Century Fox. And just like I said before, 20th Century Fox is now emerging into Disney, and they are taking ownership of all their films. So obviously it's a rule breaker, but not anymore. It is going to be welcomed in, and I'm so excited to welcome our newest princess, Dr. Frank-N-Furter, because when the change was first announced and I realized what was happening, Dr. Frank-N-Furter is definitely our newest princess, and he owns it.
It's not easy having a good time. Even smiling makes my face ache.
Now, if you're not familiar with the Rocky Horror Picture Show, I will say that it is definitely the strangest film you'll ever see. And if you are familiar with the Rocky Horror Picture Show, it is still the strangest film you'll ever see. And it's so genius and still so out there, and you don't know what happens, and it's just wonderful. A lot of people will argue that it doesn't have a plot, but it totally has a plot. And we have our hero and heroine, Brad and Janet, end up getting engaged, and they want to travel to visit their great scientist friend, Dr. Everett Scott, but end up getting stuck with a flat tire along the way and have to stop by this castle that came out of nowhere. And that's when they're introduced to Dr. Frank-N-Furter, Riff Raff, and Magenta, and Columbia, and all the amazing people, and have the most unforgettable night of their lives.
On a night out long time.
And you would think that yes, this is a great plot and it would make sense, but you also have to remember that you're in for a lot more than what you'll expect. And it was in the 70s, so it's all about free love, and it's one of the gayest movies you'll ever see as well. It can go without saying that this is a horror R-rated film, and I was 15 the first time I saw it, and I instantly fell in love. I also was a theater kid all my life, so I was always familiar with it, as well as I feel like back then, even with all Halloween soundtracks, you hear the Time Warp, which is one of the most iconic songs from this movie. Originally in England, it started as a stage show, and then it was able to get turned into a film. And Richard O'Brien, the wonderful, amazing, talented Richard O'Brien, created this with the help of Jim Sherman. They directed and produced it together, and they did it both on the West End and in LA. And a lot of this cast was from the original show. They did keep most of the original cast, which was really fantastic. They did use a much of a smaller budget, but they wanted to stay true to their vision, and we're all grateful for it. And the only two stars that weren't involved with it beforehand were Susan Sarandon and Barry Bostwick. And both of them are in lots of Disney films already, so they already have tons of connections. And this is also Tim Curry's feature film debut. I did not know this, but he started off on the stage, and then he became our iconic Dr. Frank-N-Furter before going on to many more iconic numerous roles, and he is a fantastic, fabulous person. And we also have Meatloaf in here, as well as Richard O'Brien is playing Riff Raff, Little Neil is Columbia, and Patricia Quinn is Magenta. And every single character is wonderfully amazing, and every single role is iconic. Obviously, I've been a fan of this film for more than a decade, and I've always been curious about it for even more than a decade, so it's a praise fest. And I feel like if you don't understand it, you're gonna think it's terrible, but it's just so out there, and it's so avant-garde, and it's making fun of old B-horror films from the 50s, as well as putting a new modern twist onto it, and it's just crazy, wild, out there, fun.
It was quite odd. It was almost as if it had a life of its own. And I think probably one of the nice things about it is that we didn't go out saying, oh, we've got this great idea. What we were doing was having a bit of fun. Yeah.
It originally did bomb at the theater, but they started showing it at midnight, and all of a sudden it became an amazing cult classic. I think this is one of the first cult classic films out there. It's one of the craziest ones for sure. But then you also have The Sound of Music does live screenings, and they do have midnight showings and props, so it's kind of all over with Broadway. But now we have a lot more cult classics as the years went by. But this is #1 and will always be #1. It's been such a long time since I've seen a live showing, but if you want to have a treat, go to a live showing because it's a completely different experience. The soundtrack is one of the most amazing soundtracks you'll ever hear. The beginning of this film and even the beginning of the show is iconic. We just have our red lips and it just, first time you're watching it, you don't know what's going on. And the 50th time you're watching it, you don't know what's going on.
Michael Rennie was ill.
It really is the strangest film you'll see, and I really love everything about it. Science fiction double feature is one of my all-time favorite songs. It's really beautiful, even though it's very strange.
Like a science fiction double feature.
You also have classics like Damn It, Janet, To Touch Me.
I've tasted blood and I want more. More. Touch me. I wanna be dirty.
Rose Tint My World. Unless there's more. Every single song is a jam. And I love it. And I am really excited that this is now going to be considered into the Disney realm, technically. So I obviously had to include this film on my list because it is one of the most anti-Disney films ever, and they actually make fun of Disney in this film too, because we have Columbia wearing her Mickey Mouse ears. Obviously, it's nothing but a praise fest. This is one of my ultimate top favorite films ever, and so I want everyone to watch it because I am in love. I've always been obsessed with it, and I still am obsessed with it, and I love watching it even though I've seen it at least 30 different times already. It's still a new experience, and I love the campiness of it. I love how much fun they make with the old horror films, but they still put such a new modern twist on it, and it's one of a kind. Nothing can ever replace it or try to remake it, and we're gonna ignore what Fox did to it back in 2016. There was only one good thing about that, which was Reeve Carney. I was introduced to Reeve Carney and then reintroduced to him in Penny Dreadful, and now I love him. But besides him, we're just ignoring that it ever existed because it doesn't. We only have one, Rocky Horror, and that was from 1975, this current film that we're talking about, by 20th Century Fox, with Tim Curry and Richard O'Brien and all the amazing cast members that I just talked about. That's a wrap on our Halloween films. My favorite time of year is over. But it's okay because we're going to continue on. We have 2 more months left to talk about, and we're not jumping into Christmas because it's not Christmas yet. We're going to start tomorrow with November and talk about some drama films. So you can stay tuned, and as always, I hope you have a magical day, and I will see you real soon.